Garden friends, this morning we're going to talk cosmos and 10 things you need to know on about growing them. So let's get talking cosmos. Yeah, cosmos are one of those easy to grow flowers. Start them from seed, perfect for the cottage garden, a lazy gardener, and sometimes they just seem to grow themselves, which is perfect. But we want them to thrive. So let's get into 10 things everyone needs to know. Number 1, cosmos thrive on neglect. Seriously, neglect. So if you don't remember anything, just remember this. Cosmos do better when you don't fuss over them. Rich soil, not necessary. Fertilizer, they often make things worse. When you give cosmos too much love, especially fertilizer, they grow tall and leafy but produce fewer flowers. So what's a better approach? They're perfect for average or poor soil. If you're going to grow them in a container, make sure the potting soil is just average, no fertilizer added, and just let them do their thing. This makes them one of the most budget-friendly flowers any gardener can grow. Number 2, they need full sun, or they do best in full sun. So cosmos, they're sun lovers through and through. For the best blooms, they need 6 to 8 hours of direct sun daily. The more sun, the better flowers, or the more flowers. If they're in too much shade, they get floppy stems, fewer blooms. Think of cosmos for the sunniest border you have in your garden. Number 3, direct sowing of cosmos seeds is best, so skip the fuss. Cosmos don't love being transplanted. They're kind of like zinnias. Instead, scatter seeds directly in the garden after frost. And it should be a little bit warmer so the soil's warmed up. Lightly press into the soil, don't bury deeply. I usually just walk across them. Sometimes I'll scatter a little bit of compost on top, just a little, tiny bit. And then I walk across. And then water gently. You don't want to disperse the seeds. They germinate quickly and they grow fast. And many times if you start some indoors in little containers and then plant them out, the ones you direct sow will catch up quickly. So unless you grow indoors or seeds start just for the fun of it, and sometimes I do, and to get your flower fix before you can garden outside, then go ahead, start some. Also, sometimes if you have certain bug pressure, they will be eaten by pests. But I use what's called First Saturday Lime, and I sprinkle around the area, and that deters pests from eating mine that I direct sow. Also, when I transplant anything, I do that. So I'm not affiliated with them whatsoever. It is just what I use to help repel pests in my garden organically. Being able to direct sow them this way, it makes for a low effort garden. Filling up empty spaces, like if your perennials have started to come in and you notice you've got an empty spot that you would like to fill, you can scatter the seeds right there. They will come up and fill in. Last summer, I did that in a container where the center flower, I can't remember what the center flower was, but it was done after the spring bloom. And so I just cut that off, seeded in some cosmos and the dwarf one. And then they filled in for the blooms in that container, and I didn't have to remove anything. I just cut off the other plant. It was perfect for filling in for the rest of the summer. And then last minute planting decisions. If you're late getting started, whatever, you can start these all the way up, and since they grow so fast, all the way up through July, and still get pretty flowers, depending on your garden season. Now, number 4 and 5, they kind of blend together, but they are generally separate items. Number 4, the more you cut, the more they bloom. Cosmos are one of the best cut and come again flowers, kind of like zinnias and dahlias. Every time you cut them, the plant sends up more stems with more blooms. So you can fill vases all summer. You can create bouquets often and give them to friends. And this keeps your plants blooming longer. It's one of those rare garden win-wins. Now 5, deadheading. So to keep the blooms coming, you can do like I said before, you cut bouquets from them or harvest them, the deadheads, or cut off the dead flowers before they start going to seed. I would say you can tell when they're fading. So right then is the best time because you get a rebloom faster than if you wait. But here's the caveat. Towards the end of the season, let some of the blooms, or what's left of the blooms, remember, end of the season, go to seed. And that takes us to number 6. They reseed themselves generously in mini gardens. Generously is the key for me in my garden because I won't get tons coming back, but I'll get plenty. The more seed that falls, the more chance you have of getting them to grow on their own for you. Cosmos are wonderfully generous with seeds. You can collect some as well as let some fall to the ground, and then you will be sure and have more for the following season, even if you don't live in an area that they will come up on their own after reseeding themselves. You can use the seeds that you've collected to start the following season. So if you let them go to seed and fall to the ground, they'll return every season, sometimes even in better spots than you originally had them. That's one thing I've noticed about flowers that reseed themselves. And it could be just that those that survive, once they've picked a good spot or they happen to fall in a better spot than where I have had them, they grow even better and more prolifically. So don't always pull them up out of areas that you may not have wanted them if it's just a matter of choice. So try letting them come up in areas that they want to grow in and see what happens. That is really where embracing the cottage style is. Now I know cottage style gardening has a broad definition. It can be different things to different people. And the look. Some is wilder, some people create a little bit more of a tamer or cohesive look, but yes, cosmos are perfect for the cottage garden. Number 7, tall varieties may need support. Do you live in a windy area? It would be a good thing to stake them or have some kind of support. Now I take remesh panels. If you've ever been to Home Depot or Lowe's in the concrete area, they'll have pre-cut remesh panels. Those make perfect if you have stakes around your garden area that you're growing cosmos. You put it down flat at a height attached to those stakes, and then the flowers grow up through them. And then that provides the support very easily, and it's super simple to lift it and remove it. I have like stakes that have a screw in it, and then those screws are all probably around the same level. And then that mesh sets on that screw, on all 4 screws around the garden bed. And it's better than netting, in my opinion. For me, it's just easier to work with. But I could try it. Maybe I'll do a test this year. But that's one easy way to stake them. Also, I use bamboo canes. I grow bamboo just for the canes that I can use as support. So that's another option. You can stake individual ones, but also you can plant them closely together. They'll support each other as long as they're getting direct sun. Now in shady spots, they will get tall, lanky, and weak, and then they will be less strong, less sturdy. And also if you plant them amongst other sturdy perennials or annuals, that will also help provide support for them. But no, if it's super windy where you're at, no matter which kind of perennial or tall flower you're growing, you are most likely going to have to stake them or support them in some way. 8, there are different varieties of cosmos. Not all the cosmos are the same, and this does matter. So there's cosmos bipinnatus. I know I'm pronouncing that wrong. Cosmos bipinnatus. Soft pinks, whites, airy cottage style. Now they also have ones that are called the seashell mix that have fluted petals. They have the cupcake mix that look like cupcake liners. They have doubles, like there's one called Double Click that are real fluffy. So those are all beautiful, usually in purple, pinks, and whites. And then there's Cosmos sulphureus. Now these are bright oranges and yellows, and they are more heat tolerant. Now those ones in some areas are considered a bully because they really reseed readily and they take over some areas. But if you have an area that's tough, and give them a try if you enjoy orange and yellow. There's a lot of people that don't like orange in their garden, but that's okay. These are really pretty. Now, one thing about these I've learned is they are not deer resistant. So if you have a problem with deer, do something that I have found effective, and that's planting flowers along the perimeter of your garden that deer do not like. There is a book, and I will try to remember to link it below, but it's all about planting a deer-resistant garden, and it relies upon planting a perimeter of flowers or plants they don't like. And they'll test those plants, and they'll think, nothing good here, and then they move on. And I have a link to an article where a young woman also did this in her grandmother's garden, but she planted a hedge around the garden of wildflowers that the deer didn't like. And it helped to preserve her grandmother's garden of plants that they did like. So it's worth a shot. I know it worked in my garden with daisies, Shasta daisies along the roadside where the deer often traversed. This was one of their paths. And I used to have deer problems eating my roses. And then once those daisies filled in there, I let them go to seed and fill in all along the road. I no longer had the deer eating my roses. I cut them down after they were done blooming, not realizing they were keeping the deer away. And then all of a sudden my roses along there were getting eaten again. So that showed me that this does work. So give it a whirl. What have you got to lose? Okay, so then there's the chocolate cosmos. I've never seen seeds for these. They must be cuttings or tissue culture grown. But the chocolate cosmos they don't smell like Hershey's chocolate, that kind of chocolate. They smell like Tootsie Rolls, and they are a delight to grow. But you usually have to buy plants. You can't get seeds to grow them from, where the others you can grow easily from seed. 9. Cosmos do not need a lot of water. In fact, they will do better if you keep them a little on the dry side. So that is, once they are established, cosmos are surprisingly drought resistant or tolerant. Too much water leads to weak stems and fewer blooms, and the best practice is to water occasionally, let soil dry between watering. So they're perfect if you have a low water garden area, like maybe has lavenders and other things that prefer a little bit drier soil. These are perfect to go in there. I think they'd be great in a gravel garden too. Number 10, pinching makes the plants bushier. Bushier cosmos means more flowers. Now, when they get about 8 to 12 inches tall, pinch out the top growth. It's the same as you would do with zinnias and dahlias. Pinching out that top growth makes them produce more stems, and it makes them a stockier, stronger plant. So this encourages more branching, more flowers, and a fuller plant. It feels a little scary the first time, but it works beautifully. So cosmos is one of those flowers that reminds us that gardening does not have to be complicated to be beautiful. They don't demand perfect soil, they don't need constant attention, and they don't ask you to keep buying more and more. They simply grow, bloom, and give. And maybe that's just the kind of garden we all need more of. So next time, if you'd like, I can do a video on growing cosmos in containers. Or maybe you'd like how to design an entire garden using these easy cottage garden flowers you can grow from seed and create an entire garden. So let me know in the comments below what you would like to see next, and I'll give it a go. All right, I'll see you in my next video.